Good evening and warm welcome to all for the webinar of Thrissur Management Association, and a very warm good morning to Arjun Jayaram from California, our chief guest. Today's webinar topic is God's Own Country to Silicon Valley, Entrepreneur's Journey, a much awaited topic. We are privileged to get this eminent speaker, Mr. Arjun Jayaram, CEO and founder of California-based Fintech startup Baton Systems. Arjun Jayaram is graduated from Thrissur Engineering College and is going to narrate his journey as a Fintech startup now, God's Own Country to Silicon Valley. Let me invite our Senior Vice President of TMA, Dr. V.M. Xavier, to welcome our members. Over to Dr. V.M. Xavier.
Good evening to all the members of TMA, and good morning to Mr. Arjun Jayaram, our chief guest, C.A. Soni CL, our president,
Good morning.
Mr. C.J. Ponor,
Dr. V.M. Xavier, go ahead.
I think his connection may be bad.
C.A. Shaji, and past presidents of TMA and members of TMA. Once again, good morning, good evening to all of you. The members of TMA are very lucky nowadays because we get a record number of webinars nowadays. This week itself, this is the second webinar organized by our president, C.A. Soni CL. He is taking all the ammunition from his arsenal in his last phase. He is putting an unbeatable records during his period. We are lucky that we are getting very good speakers nowadays. And we have to salute our president, C.A. Soni CL. I take this opportunity to welcome our president, C.A. Soni CL, to this meeting. Today, we have a very brilliant person from Thrissur, Mr. Arjun Jayaram, who is the CEO and founder of Baton Systems, a fintech startup from California. He started his education, or say, completed his BTech from Thrissur Engineering College and MBA from California University. After that, he has started some businesses. I'm not explaining more about him because his friend, engineer Francis George, is waiting to introduce him in a detailed manner. So we are very lucky that we'll be getting a very wonderful talk from our chief guest, Mr. Arjun Jayaram. The topic is God's Own Country to Silicon Valley, an entrepreneur's journey. So we are all welcoming him on behalf of TMA. Sir, welcome you to this meeting. Today, we are also happy to welcome our CEO, Mr. Engineer Francis George, who has got a lot of connections abroad. And he has invited a lot of guests to the webinars nowadays. And Francis George was also the college mate of Mr. Arjun Jayaram. That's the reason why we were able to get the talk by Mr. Arjun Jayaram. Francis George, welcome to TMA's meeting. And also our past president, engineer Krishna George, is with us. He is doing a great service to the student community. Every year he is giving 1 lakh rupees as prize amount for the TMA Haikan Business Plan Contest. This year also, though there is a COVID-19 pandemic, we were able to conduct the program, and today there is a prize distribution by engineer Christopher George, and he'll be talking about the program, the TMA Haikan Business Plan Contest. And also the student chapter convener, C.A. Shaji P is with us.
Thank you, Dr. V.M. Xavier, for your nice words of welcome. I think he has lost in between.
C.A. Manoj Kumar to this meeting. I also welcome our Secretary Sijo Ponor and also the Joint Secretary Pradab Varki and all the MC members and all the members of TMA. And a lot of friends from other states and other countries are attending this function. I take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this evening program of TMA. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. V.M. Xavier, for nice welcome address.
Over to President C.A. Soni.
Thank you. Thank you. Our beloved chief guest, Mr. Arjun Jayaram, CEO and founder of Baton Systems, a California-based Fintech startup. Vice President, Engineer Vinod Manjula, Honorary Secretary Sijo Ponu, Treasurer Manoj Kumar, Honorary Joint Secretary Pradab Varki, CEO Engineer Francis George, past presidents of TMA, managing committee members, members of TMA, students, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today, webinar is looking towards the entrepreneurship. As rightly mentioned in our last webinar by Professor N. Devchandran, most of the entrepreneurs are successful just because of they are providing some solution to the issues of the society or common man. Earlier, we used to have brick and mortar companies which are consuming a lot of space. Now, technology and innovation in financial services resulted in a new model of financial services. Now you can see many of the banking transactions are carried out by the fintech companies. Like you can see Alipay, Google Pay, Apple Pay, M-Paisa, PayPal, and many more. The ability to pay goods and services by the common man to the online platform through handheld devices like mobile, with a much reduced transaction cost relatively to traditional payment methods. Similarly, EduTech, whether it is Baiju app, now this Baiju app is the first Indian EduTech company in the $1 billion valuation. After the lockdown, you may have heard about the EduTech called Unacademy. It is also now joined the 1 billion. Entrepreneurs have become the new heroes of the world. Entrepreneurs have become the new heroes of the world, and the people like Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs now become the household names. The entrepreneur's skills and qualities are highly valued in today's labor market. Many of our youngsters, after finishing their studies, they would like to join or they would like to start their own, some startup or something like that, similar to that. Against this backdrop, we started a business plan contest in the year 2011 in association with Haikan Group, our past president, Engineer Christopher George, with the objective of encouraging the entrepreneurship among the students fraternity. Over the years, we are proud to have been able to achieve our objective by making some participants in our business plan contest. They become the successful entrepreneurs now. This is the 10th year of TMA Haikan Business Plan Contest with 1 lakh prize money sponsored by Engineer Christopher George. Yes, rightly mentioned by Dr. PMC. And today, apart from the price distribution of the business plan, many of the youngsters are waiting to hear from a successful entrepreneur like Mr. Arjun. He started his studies in Engineering College, Thrissur. Then he moved to California and he started his own fintech. It is also providing solution to the issues. You know, in the capital market, the settlement is a huge process, T plus 3, T plus 2, like that. He will explain all about his company. And he can guide our youngsters how to go about, how to start, what are the do's and don'ts, like that. And finally, Arjun Jayaram agreed to address our members. Our CEO, Engineer Francis George, contacted him and he agreed to address our members. Now it is early morning in California. Still, he is ready with this presentation. Today, he will narrate how he started his entrepreneurship journey and how he is able to reach Silicon Valley. What are the requirements of an entrepreneur? What are the safeguards or certain do's and don'ts from his practical entrepreneurship journey? I am sure this will certainly help all of you to start your own entrepreneurship journey by hearing from Arjun Jayaram. I wish everyone a very fruitful session ahead. Once again, I welcome all of you to this webinar. Thank you very much. Now I request CEO Engineer Francis George to formally introduce our chief guest. Or to Francis George, please.
Okay, thanks, Sonny. There was a slight technical glitch. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes.
All right. Good morning, Arjun. Good evening, good afternoon to others who, depending on which part of the world you are in, and happy Halloween too, being the 31st of October. My name is Francis George. I am the CEO of Thrissur Management Association, TMA in short. My task here is to introduce our chief guest for the day, Arjun Jayaram. Now, Arjun, as you already heard, is a very, very successful entrepreneur based in California. He floated his own company in 2016, Baton Systems. It's a blockchain company. It operates in the blockchain space. Now, in 2016, that would have been that was pretty hip at that point of time. I guess he was in the right place at the right time. In a short span of time, the company has had an astounding success. Recently, the company landed pretty good deals with Citibank. That's one of them. Citibank is one of the largest banks in the world. And with Singapore Exchange, I've had first-hand exposure to both these places. I was an employee of Citibank. I have worked in Singapore also. I've dealt with Monetary Authority of Singapore, MAS, which regulates the financial industry in Singapore, including the stock exchange. Now, the stringent processes that they follow for vendor evaluation and selecting the quality of the service and the product, that's very, very stringent, and it's very tough to get into that space. So a young company like that of Arjun's, like Baton Systems, having set a foot in the door within 3 years of operation, 3 or 4 years of operation, that's an astounding achievement. So hats off to Arjun and Baton Systems for that. My, coming back to Arjun, I know him for a very long time. He was my senior in Government Engineering College, Thrissur. He was the computer science. He passed for computer science from there in '93. Now, having said that, 93, it's the same question. Whatever you have in mind, I have the same question. Arjun, looking at you, I have to ask, what is the secret of your youth? Is there a fountain, youth fountain in your backyard or something, or a druid supplying some magic potion, get a fix, providing magic potion for your youth? That's something you got to tell us over and above your entrepreneurship journey. He was a very dynamic character while in the college also. He was the union counselor, UUC, in the college during his engineering days. He was excellent at people skills, needless to say, and I'm sure that has helped him in his journey, which we'll talk about. He's currently again involved with the college. He's giving back to the college. He was part of launching a mentorship program for the college, and that has taken off very successfully, and students are loving it so far. Now, after completing college in '93, he joined Honeywell. He got into the tech space. Tech was booming at that point of time. IT was a booming industry. He got into Honeywell. He spent some time there. Then he got into the enterprise resource planning software space. He worked for companies like Sybase, PeopleSoft, BEA Systems, etc. Then in 2006, he joined as a director of engineering at Become.com, which is an internet shopping, shop and compare and shop portal, which was very successful at that point of time. He quickly rose through the ranks to become the VP of engineering within a span of 3 years, 2006 to 2009, he was with Become.com. After that, he founded his own, he co-founded a company called Compass Labs. That was in 2019 with one Mr. Dilip Venkatachari. The company was into social media advertising, and it had an astounding success, needless to say. The company was bought over by Yahoo, and I'm sure Arjun made a very handsome profit in that. After that, after sale of Compass Labs, Arjun joined Twitter in 2012. He was heading the anti-spamming software division for Twitter. He spent a couple of years there. After that, he joined Dwola, which is a retail payment solution. When working with Dwola, he was also a member of the Federal Security Payments Task Force, which is another feather in the cap for Arjun. So that's the success story of Arjun. I'm sure everyone is eager to hear from him. So over to you, Arjun.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Great to meet all of you. I speak Malayalam. നന്നായിട്ട് മലയാളം സംസാരിക്കാൻ പറ്റും. പക്ഷേ എനിക്ക് മലയാളത്തിൽ പ്രസംഗിക്കാൻ അറിയില്ല. അതുകൊണ്ട് so it's just that I never studied in a Malayalam medium. I regret that I cannot deliver a speech in Malayalam. However, please feel free. Malayalam സംസാരിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ I can speak back. I'm very fluent in Malayalam.
Arjun, we may have non-Malayalis also in the audience.
No problem at all. So I just wanted to put it out there. So with that, I'll go straight into this. Thank you again for this opportunity. So we talked a little bit about this. This is a framework in which I would like to speak today. I will tell you a little bit about my personal journey, what I learned along the way, and then get straight into entrepreneurship. The specific things about, it's a lifestyle choice. What are the good things? You only hear the good things about an entrepreneurship. And you only hear from quote unquote successful entrepreneurs. There's a lot of dead bodies along the road, which we don't talk about. And so it's important to understand that and be ready for that piece. And then I'll talk a little bit about how you identify a market opportunity. And very importantly, I think the most important thing that I find is how do you bootstrap and take from zero and nothing to something, right? That is probably the most important and most difficult step in that. Now, once you reach a certain level, you need to know how to scale up that business. Now, I don't in any way claim to be an expert in any of these. You asked me how is it that I stay like this. I just don't have the time to get old. I mean, just every day, you just keep working and you give it 100% every day, every waking day. You get up and you give it 100%. It's just a fun journey. So. But again, I want to say that it is not for everybody. It is not that entrepreneurship is the only way out. You can have very successful careers otherwise as well. I mean, look, there is quite a lot that people don't tell you about entrepreneurship. You give up a lot. You give up, especially in the early days of it, you give up a family life. You give up quite a few other things, a career, you give up a career. So there is quite a lot that people don't tell you about. Hopefully we can have an open discussion here. We are all from the same, very similar backgrounds. We're happy to get into some of the details. With that, I'll tell you a little bit, how did I start off? Right out of college, we all come from a very middle-class families. My father was in FACT. By the time I I graduated in '93. He was close to retirement, and my sister got into Calicut Medical College. So I had to work. There was no other option. I had to work. And so it was not like I couldn't have gone and done an MBA at that point in time. In fact, I wrote my GRE, and I could have come to the US at that time, but it was not an option. Being from just regular middle class families, I had to work. In fact, I started working in '92. When I was in college, I did part-time work. I remember those are the days when you could do what are called walk-in interviews. I don't know if you have walk-in interviews these days. You could walk in and go for an interview, and I got the job, and they told me that, hey, you're not finished your college, but we can offer you something on as a part-time. And I used to help service computers. That was the time when personal computers were being assembled and sold. So a lot of private computers where private companies came in. Remember companies like Shiva and Sterling Computers and all of them. So in a company like that, I was servicing their computers that they'd sold in Cochin to Trichur, Palakkad, and all of those places. I would service them on that. It could make enough money to get by our college days. It was just hustling. So I want to point out that it was just hustling. And that part of hustling, that is, you always are doing something and creating something, is I enjoy that piece, and I always do that even to this day. So I call it the hustling. So while I say this thing, the hustling part is extremely important. I have a lot of respect for traders. I wish I had learned trading as in not stock trading, but just the act of doing a trade, buying and selling. So not like it's actually a very amazing thing what they do. If you understand what they do and really understand it at a depth, I wish I had exposure to that early. I did not, because my father comes from a very regular, 9 to 5 job kind of a environment, and that's how we all, many of us are. So I had to learn entrepreneurship. It doesn't come naturally. Going to a job and going to a 9 o'clock job and sitting at your desk and working, and then you have a manager and you have people reporting to you, that doesn't teach you entrepreneurship. If anything, it takes you away from it. It actually makes you risk averse. Because why would you leave that job? You're getting a regular paycheck. On the first of the month, you get a regular salary. You have bills to pay, and you have kids to send to school. All of that stuff. So why would you leave all of that and then start something else? So, I had to learn entrepreneurship. This is why I tell you that I have a lot of respect for trading, for traders, people who have a shop and buy stuff and sell it at a profit. I have a lot of respect for that, because the day they stop doing that, there is no money coming in. So that ability, I had to learn that from the beginning. So when I wanted to start a company in 2005, I went and spoke to a lot of venture capitalists, and they told me, you're a good person, but you don't know anything about business. So you need to learn something about startups. So my first job was to join a startup and learn what a startup is. Like, how do you start a company? So I spent about 4 years just learning startups. So Become.com, when I joined the company, was a very small company. And we grew that company. I was not the founder. I didn't start the company, but I grew that company along with the senior management team. We made that company profitable. We raised a lot of money in that company. And then we started seeing something else. I mean, I also will tell you that it is not just the highs. Once you reach at that point, this is the piece that is important. No matter, I've learned something. You go anywhere in the world, I've come to learn that people are the same. Anywhere in the world. You could be in Trichur, you could be in New York, people are the same. You could be white, you could be black, you could be African, you could be Middle Eastern. People are fundamentally the same. You will see the best of people only in the best of times or in the worst of times. I'll repeat that again. You will see the real person only in the best of times and in the worst of times. That is when the true personality comes out. So when there is a lot of money, you see greed. When there is no money, you see basic instincts showing up. Please remember that piece. People are the same. I've come to realize I can look at a person at this point in time and see the person. I can talk to him like I could talk to any of you. So that is something that I've learned over the time. So the reason I say that is once we reached a lot of we saw profits, hundreds of millions of dollars at that point in time, you started seeing greed come up. And so you see this, and then you see the downfall. And that happened to me as well. So after that, I started my own company. We had the opportunity to sell that company so for a lot of money. So Francis, to just a small correction on that, I sold it to Yahoo, but I didn't make a lot of money. So again, that was primarily because I learned a lot in that process. That I joined, so we were able to sell it for enough money so that we could pay back our founders, our people who invested in us. But there's not that much money left in it. So this time, when I started in 2016, Baton Systems, I'll skip that part in the middle because I'll come to that. That's a very important piece of it. When I started it in 2016, I tell people I learned many ways how not to start a company. That is what I had. When in 2016, I knew many ways how not to start a company. I had still not learned how to start a company. But this time I wanted to do something very different, and I will get into that a little bit. But I'm very happy that all we do is just a lot of hard work. We have a lot of very good and smart and hardworking people that we've been able to attract. And we just figured it out. We cracked something that many people in Silicon Valley or in Wall Street had not done. Today, I'm very, very humbled to say that we move about $20 billion a day in 16 currencies across 6 banks. I mean, we talked about Citibank, we have Goldman Sachs, we have JP Morgan. These are very, very large banks. And you say it's not easy to get into these banks. I'm just very humble that I have this opportunity here. It doesn't mean that we are successful yet or we will be successful. Once greed takes over, and greed cannot be just within the company, it can be outside. We are starting to see a lot of other problems that will come up. So this path of entrepreneurship is not easy. We'll talk about that in a bit. So the important thing is that entrepreneurship is a lifestyle choice. This is not the only way to make money, or this is not the only way. You only hear about the successful cases. You only celebrate successes. So, you talk about people getting into the cricket team of India. For every one, or making it into Bollywood, for every one person who's successful, there are lots of people who are not. It's a stressful journey. It's a very lonely journey also. I want to emphasize the lonely part. As a CEO, you feel very lonely because you know how much money is left in the bank. You know how much bills you have to pay. But you have to portray confidence in the people who are dependent on you. So that makes it very, very lonely. You can't tell a lot of people. And it takes a toll. It takes a mental toll. It takes a lot of toll. Most of it is just a mental toll on that one. But, so it is not for everybody. In fact, the other thing, if I had not gone into entrepreneurship, I probably would have been in a company like an Oracle, senior vice president, probably have more than 1,000 people reporting into me. And that's also good. But so just be aware that you don't have to be an entrepreneurship. But if you're going into entrepreneurship, go in eyes wide open in that. But then why is it worth it? Because it is extremely exhilarating to be able to do something from nothing. So you're creating something new. You're creating a legacy, and that you should get a thrill out of that one. But if you're coming in just for the money, yeah, there are better ways. There are other ways to make money, not better ways. There are other ways to make money. This is not the only way. If you're coming in just for the money, you understand that this is a path that is full of potholes. It's like taking a safari in a remote place in Africa. There are animals. There is just potholes along the way. A lot of journey, but you know what? It's amazing. If you enjoy that one, enjoy the journey, not just the destination. So that is important. So there is an article. I'll give you this one if people are interested. I'll send this to Francis. There's an article at the bottom. This is at the bottom of it. I put a link there. So I don't want to claim that this is mine. Make sure to read about this. So these are the important lifestyle choices when you're starting a company. First thing, he calls it the 5M. So I just picked the ones that resonated with me. The first thing is you need money. How much money? You need to be able to you need to be comfortable to bootstrap with a small amount of money. That is important. The small amount of money is important. So I'll tell you a little bit about how do you measure the right amount of money you need to bootstrap a company. It should not be too much. It should not be too little, but just the right amount. Because if it is too much, you actually make wrong decisions. If it is too little, then you don't do it right. So just bootstrapping is an important thing. The mindset. So moving to the next one is a mindset. You must have an ego. People tell me you have a big ego. Of course I have an ego. If I did not have an ego, I would not be in this business. I believe that I can do it. I believe I can do it better than anybody else. And that is an ego that you should have. But let that not define you. You should not be the ego. So to remove your ego, you should be able to, when you're alone, you should be able to remove that ego away. And you should not define you. But when you're friend of others, you should believe that you can do it better than others. Otherwise, you can't do it. You can't survive. He talks about the movie Rocky. Rocky keeps taking punches after punches. That's what makes Rocky in the movie. So you're all from my generation, so you understand that movie Rocky. The thing about Rocky is that he always comes back. Rocky takes the punches and comes back. He says, "Be like Rocky Balboa," and that resonated with me. There is not many days in a week when I don't take punches. People tell me that it won't work. People tell me that you're just dreaming. But you know what? You should be able to come back every day. The next one is about the mission. Believe in that mission. It should be simple. It should be clear, but believe in it 100%. Okay. The next one is about the mastery. As usually a founder should be able to do many things. You should be a good generalist. So I would say, in the early stages of a company, good generalists are what are preferred. That is, you should be able to do many tasks. But when you scale up, that actually hurts you. And we will get into that in a bit. In the beginning stages, you should be able to do many tasks. As the company grows on, you should be able to hire specialists in that job. Okay. The last one is on market validation. We'll get into that in a bit. But this is what I want to lay out, and this is the journey that this is the piece that is important. One, just let me be very clear. This is not the only way to make money, but this is going to be difficult. It's going to be stressful. And enjoy the journey. You should be able to enjoy the journey. If don't enjoy the journey and you're looking for making a lot of money, it's not worth it. There are simpler ways to make it. Okay. All right. So now let me tell you about how I bootstrapped this business, right? Bootstrapping is an important part, and some things that I don't talk about here, but I'll tell you about my personal journey. So when I was at Twitter, I sold my company. This is a company by my last company, Compass Labs, and then could have sold for a lot of money, but somehow the greed got in, the people personality conflicts got in, external people got in. Like I told you, when you see a lot of money, that's when greed takes over. No matter who it is. It could be Indians, it could be Americans, it doesn't matter. Greed is fundamental in people, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Greed is important. Without greed, you can't do many things. So I went through a down phase in my life, and it was very difficult. Everybody goes through that. You just don't talk about it, right? I mean, people don't talk about mental health. Everybody goes through that stage, especially at a later point in your life. And some people don't come out of it, and that they call it depression and all that stuff. But everybody goes through that. It's a time for introspection. So I joined Twitter at that point in time, worked for 2 years, and just more to discover myself. And then I said, this is not who I am. I need to go back into something else. So I wanted to get into startups. Can I just get 1 second? My battery is running out. I'll just take 1 second and connect it.
Okay.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
Yes.
There's nobody else in the office.
Arjun.
There's nobody else in the office, so I had to do it myself. My assistant is not here. So sorry about that. So, while I was in this company in Douala before this, I found an opportunity. And how did I find this opportunity? I was able to talk to a lot of people. And you talked about, when you introduced me, you said about companies like Apple Pay and Google Pay, and PayPal and all that stuff. These are the known companies. So people know how this is what we call retail payments. When small amounts of money, this is like RuPay and what's the other one in India? all the companies that you can really think about. These are well understood ways in which credit card money moves, credit card or debit card money moves. What is not known is how money moves in the capital markets at the end of the trading day. Like, to give you an example, the GDP of India is probably about 10 or 11 trillion dollars. The amount of money that moves in capital markets in every single day is around $11 trillion. $11 trillion. Okay, that's amount of GDP in India is how much the money, the value of the money that is moving every day. It is not a known problem. Very few people know about it. I did not know about this. But I got an opportunity for over a course of 18 months. I understood how this money moves. And then I understood all the systems that are in place. It took me 18 months, and I would talk to a lot of people and learn from them. And it was not easy because you can't just read it in a book. You had to go and interview. I must have spoken to at least about 80 people in order to get this understanding of this. I knew it very deep about the problems. I knew all the systems in that place. Then I said, there is actually a great opportunity here, right? So my point here is now I'll come back to the points in the deck. You know, when you talk about many of us in the early stages, in the last time, I did not do this. So one of the lessons learned is I did not validate this market early on. So we instead, many of us, this is quite common, we look at other successful companies and we say, let us mimic that. Or you make a small variation to that. So you look at a TikTok or a WhatsApp or an Instagram and say, these companies have been successful, or an Amazon and say, these companies have been successful. What if I were to make something like that? Or like, can I apply that in a different industry? It's very, very normal. But there is a high chance of failure. I mean, there's more than a 99% chance of failure, in fact. I would say if you just take something and may modify it slightly, so don't just blindly go into that. You know, the next point is gain deep knowledge about it. Like I said, in my case, I spent 18 months just learning this problem in a very, very detailed space. You validate that problem. So you should also know that not only there's a problem, that when you solve that particular problem, you can actually make a real business. So you should understand that what is the cost of doing that and what are the possible revenues. Okay, understand that one really well before you jump into that one. Many of us do not do that step. In fact, I would say that if you did that, understand the domain and validate that problem, your chances of success grow up significantly. So that's the other point that I had. My point today, I speak to a lot of VCs, and a lot of VCs speak to me, and you know, this is how the Silicon Valley works. You know, they talk to entrepreneurs and say, hey, can you help me validate people? Can you make sure that this is actually a good opportunity? And so two things that I do today, you know, one is for you to create a sustainable business, you need to make sure that there are a few things. One is it should be a hard problem to solve. Okay, whatever the problem is, you know, whether you're selling gold or you're selling diamonds or you're selling something else, you know, it should be a hard problem to solve. That is, if it is selling gold, you should be able to do it in a certain way that is unique about that, you're building a software. It should be a hard problem to solve. If it is a hard problem to solve and you solve that problem, you have built something that nobody else can. Like Francis, you just talked about how hard it is to get into Citibank. It is very, very difficult to get into Citibank. But once you get into Citibank, it should open up a huge market within that, right? So by solving that particular problem, you should be able to open up a very large market. Otherwise, what's the point, right? Those are the two ingredients that I look for in this time. In fact, the third ingredient I would say is probably above all these things is the quality of the team. It should not be just one person. It's the set of people that he has around him. That is also important. Okay, so this is how I look at the market opportunity. Now let's just talk a little bit about bootstrapping. Now that you identified a market, now let's talk about bootstrapping. How do you start from zero? And that starting from zero is a very important thing. You know, when I was I was a senior leadership and exec leadership in very successful companies, and then someone told me, tomorrow, if you did not have this job and you did not have a paycheck and nothing else, all you had is this laptop. Okay, all you have is this laptop. What will you do tomorrow? And people just imagine tomorrow you did not have a place to get up and go to office, and all you have is your laptop, and you say, start now. The money in the bank is all that you have. No more money. Many people cannot get past that piece. And if you can, then you have some of the qualities of it. So understanding that's the bootstrapping process. So in the bootstrapping process, what I learned is understand, now you have to know this market really well. You should understand the economics of that really well. Then you should identify, break it down and find out, and I call it the MVP or the minimum viable product, or the minimum viable product is what I say. What is that minimum viable product that people will buy? It should have, cut out the bells and whistles, but just attack the core of the problem and say, take out all the frills, just the core of that, and define that offering. And you should understand the economics. If I sell this one, this will be the cost and this will be the revenue. So what is the cost required in order to do that minimum viable product? That is the capital that you need. So you should be able to bootstrap it with the minimum capital. Once you bootstrap it with the right amount of capital, then you will be extremely disciplined in spending. That is, the money that's coming in and money that's going out. You should be extremely disciplined about it. And you only will spend on the most important things. And I want to underline the most important things. It does not mean that you do not spend. It just means that you spend it on the most important ones. Okay. So once we talk about the MVP and the capital, I would emphasize this team. I think that's the most, it is probably the one that should be highlighted the most. A startup is all about the team. It's all about the people, because you believe on day one that this is what you will solve. 4 years from now, you look at that and say, hey, I'm not on that path. I'm on a slightly different path. The only thing that is same from 5 years ago is a team. If you have the core team, you picked your right people in the beginning. These are the people that are going to be part of your journey. Pick that one very, very carefully. Be very true to them. You should be 100% loyal to them, and you make hope that they are loyal to you. All that you can do is you can hope that you're loyal to, but be very true to them. Hold them accountable. You give them autonomy, but you hold them accountable. You must give them power to do something, but you must hold them accountable. And the last one, as a founder, you should always be selling. If you're not a salesman, you just can't do this. You have to be selling all the time. What am I doing now? I'm selling myself. You should always be selling, right? You're building a brand. I'm building a brand. So so you should always be selling. So that is important in this item. Okay, now that at this point in time, you may have just enough of bootstrap business. In the retail, it should be, if you're a trader, and I really respect traders. I wish my father was a trader. He was not. He just had a regular job. If I was a trader, I would say, if you had a shop and you can prove that by running that shop, I can get 30,000-40,000 rupees a day. I mean, in those days, it would be probably 5,000 rupees. Enough to run my household. I have enormous respect for people like that. They understand every day what money is coming in, what's selling, what products are coming. It's extremely important. Have that mindset. In fact, the founder of HCL, there's Shiv Nadar, and then there was other founder is very well known. His name is Arjun Malhotra. He's now a good friend of mine. He's my advisor. He's in his late 60s, very, very well to do. He told me one day that, business is very simple. You should be, and he's a North Indian, so he says, you should be like a baniya. A baniya is a trader. Baniya is a trader. A baniya knows, when he opens a shop, he knows the inventory that is there. He knows how much money is sitting in the lockbox, in his money box. And at any point in time, at the end of the day, he'll know how much money is in the lockbox and how much is the inventory in this one. It's a very simple thing. Be like that baniya. So business is actually very simple. I just learned that piece. Now, once you're there, you need to now know how do you, the next challenge is different. The next challenge is how do you take this one shop, look at the person who did Lulu Mall, right? I mean, he did one shop with 4 shutters. How do you take from that into making that huge enterprise? So that's the next step of it, just scaling up the business. There are a few ways to do it. One is what I call organic growth. And the next one is inorganic growth. See, organic growth is when it's a most disciplined way of doing it. You did one, you're going to take the profits of one and you're going to invest in the next one and the next one, just take the profits of one and do the next one. Take the profits of 2 now and do 2 more. That is the most disciplined way of doing it. That is, invest the profits back into the business. During that process, one of the things that Yusuf Ali did not do is he didn't go and buy Rolls Royce and buy a big jet. He's doing that now, but he was very disciplined about doing this, right? He was very disciplined about not paying himself too much, not paying his original team better, but investing back into the business. It's slow, but you retain control on that one, right? Now, this is important. Sometimes when I do this now, there are some parts of my business that I will go for organic growth and some parts of the business that I will go for inorganic growth. You need to know both. Now, what is an inorganic growth? Now, inorganic growth is when you don't just do an organic one, you can actually do something different. What can you do? You can actually buy another company. You can buy another store. You can buy another shop. You can buy another business. That is one way in which you can actually grow. You need capital for that. And again, this is the important thing to understand. When you may need capital, and that capital may not be your own money, you can actually get some money from other things. There are ways to do this one. So you should know how to partner with another business. Maybe you can partner with another business to grow into that one. So you can together, putting one and one can be, you can actually generate 3 out of that one. It's possible, it's very possible. Or you can acquire another business. Take professional help on this one. If you do not know this, you should be able to take professional help on this one, right? The acquisition terrain is very complex. It is risky. In fact, I would say that more than 70% of the acquisitions do not work. So it is risky. But if it works, it can pay it off. The next one is what I call leveraged. Leverage is basically taking, very simply put, it is taking debt. Taking debt. Debt is not bad. Most of us are very conservative. Our parents have only worked very, very regular jobs. So we look at credit and debt as a very bad thing. It need not be bad. So you should know when to take a loan or raise a debt or raise this one. You lose some control, but you can use that capital to grow faster. So you should know when to do this one, right? In order for doing this, you should know the people. In order for doing, I mean, not all of us are Ambanis. An Ambani can raise money from anybody and everybody and tell them to get lost after some time, or do on. Or you could be other people where they can, the bank, they'll just run away. But you can't do that. They'll come after you, right? Which means that you should know, I call them investors. Be very honest, just like you're honest to your employees, be very honest to your investors as well. They're trusting you at the end of the day with their money. So you should know them very well. You should you should make it successful. So understand what their success criteria is. Some people have, they will tell you that I need this money back and I need to make 2x of this in 4 years, 5 years. Usually a venture capitalist will want to make somewhere between 5x to 10x over a course of 10 years. That's usually their time span. If you cannot build a business that is worth 10 times in the course of 10 years, don't take that money. Or 5x to 10x, don't take that money because you're not set up for success. It's going to be difficult for you. So you should have a path, very clear path of how do I take my business from $10 million to $100 million. You should have that path. Then you should raise that money so that you are on the same wavelength as your investor. Okay. Understand their success criteria, understand their time horizons as well. So that's what I would talk about. Right. The next one is building a team and culture. Look, this is extremely, extremely important. In a startup, I learned that this is probably the one. Everything else that I talked about is theory. This is practical. This is labs. Back into engineering, this is labs. End of the day, every single day that you come to office, this is the people that you see. The team that you've selected. You're only as good as a team. Okay? You will have, in a startup, in an entrepreneurship journey, there'll be lots of ups and downs. It's like, I remember this movie. They said when you go to an exhibition, back in the days we used to call it an exhibition. It's called a fair or one. Do you like to go in the merry-go-round or the carousel, the merry-go-round, or do you like the roller coaster that goes up and down? And some people like the merry-go-round. It's nice. It's fun. This is like a roller coaster, and this soft startup is like a roller coaster. There's ups and downs. Every week there's an up and down. In fact, there are more downs than ups. Be very clear. There are more downs than ups. But when you get that up, the up is so high that it compensates for all the downs. And for that, to be able to stomach that every single day, you need a team around you. The team that understands you, will support you, will encourage you when you're down, and you should do the same as well. So this is very, very important. The team, the most important thing in a startup culture. Hire smart, passionate, hardworking people. Okay, the initial team that you hire, you should have the same moral framework as you do. Okay. The next one, I made a mistake here, and this is important. When you hire smart, hardworking, very smart people, they're not cheap. They're not cheap. You must pay right and pay for good talent. Lessons learned, I compromised. When I saw people who are more expensive, I did not hire them because I thought I only have this much money, I cannot hire them. The cost of a mediocre hire, actually bad hires are okay. So I call it, great hires, mediocre hires, and bad hires. The bad hires are not the problem. Bad hires are very easy. You can get rid of them. The mediocre hires are the worst hires. He will just do enough to keep his job, but that is not enough. And that is the worst hire that you can make, the mediocre hire. You like them because they are pleasing. When in an interview, they please you. They try very hard to please you in an interview. I today hire only people who are very confident. They come in and tell me that I know better than you. They're confident that they know more than me, and they know what they're bringing to the table. Whereas there are people who try to please me in an interview. Oh, I read your profile, you're a great guy. Like, okay. Lots of people. But people who are very confident about themselves, go for that. They should know that they're as good as you, and today they want, that is important. Now, moving on to the culture, right? The core culture is very important for you. When you start a company, make sure that the value system that you generate, it should be what you believe in. It's very important. You should believe in that value system. Our values, when I started the company, we have 3 core values in the system, in the company. I call it honesty and integrity, one same word, integrity. The second one is trust in each other. And the third one is hard work. Hard work is every day, every single day. You should see that, and you should believe in that. That's the core value system. That is not the priority. It's the core value system in that. Unless you hire somebody, you should believe in it, and you should only hire people who believe in that one. Then we have priorities. The priority is, we set the priority very clearly. In Baton system, the priority is number 1 comes the customer. Okay, nothing else. And when the customer has a problem, you should drop everything else and do it. We drop our management meetings, we drop everything else. Even board meetings, I move it out. If the customer has a problem, I say, we cannot meet now. I'm sorry about this, we cannot meet. And then the board members are like, what do you mean? I mean, we invest in the company. I'm sorry, this bank has a problem. We have to attend to that one. True, be honest about that. So the first one is the customers. The second one is the employees and their families. Again, for me, it is important, I have 50 people. I look at it as 50 families, 50 times 3 or 4, 200 people. I'm responsible for 200 people. And the reason it's 50 and it is not 200, I can easily grow today to 200. I'm very careful about who I bring on. Spend a lot of time on that team. It's very important for me. So my second priority is employees and the families. And the third one is the shareholders in the company. So understand that that's a culture. We push that, we emphasize a lot on this. We are honest to it. If any employee compromises on that, deal with it immediately. If anybody compromises, if you feel that they are not honest, you need to deal with it immediately. If those core value systems are not met, deal with it immediately. All right? Once you invest in this and you repeat this over and over and you hire the right people, it will instill itself. See, you look at a Google in the early days, now it's slightly different. When you walked into a Google, you knew it was a great company. You just knew it. Back in 2004, 2005, they've called me many times for interviews. And I kept saying, no, I'm an entrepreneur, I'll not work there. But when you walk into a Google in those days, you knew that this was a great culture. You could see the energy. You could see people so passionate and so proud about what they're doing. And you knew that this was a great one. And you could go into another company and you would see you could kind of sense a very different energy. People were trying to portray or project something else. So it didn't feel very honest about it. So you can, when you build that company right, when you walk in, you can feel the energy. So that is that to me, that is another thing that I can say. So learning from my mistakes, right? I told you a little bit about this. One of the things that if I learned it from, and then I do that from Compass Labs to now, I did not know how to validate a business idea earlier on. And I told you that what I did differently this time. I validated it early. I spent 18 months validating that. Like, don't look at a solution, look at the problem and look beyond the problem. So there's a movie called Patch Adams. Watch this on YouTube. Just Google that one, Patch Adams, where Robin Williams, he's in a mental institution, and that mental institution, there's a great inventor in that mental institution. And just Google this scene in that mental institution. He says, they says, "Why are you here?" He asks, "Why are you here?" He shows his 4 fingers and says, "How many fingers do you see?" And Patch Adams, Robin Williams says, "I see 4." He says, no, look again. And he says, "Look beyond the problem." So it's actually a very interesting scene. I don't want to give up that scene, but he says, "Look beyond the problem. Look at the problem. Look beyond the problem." And then you will see you will see what other people cannot see. So you have to understand that problem space very well, validate it, and that's important. And the bootstrapping lessons, I told you about how I bootstrap. Do you have the right capital? Do you have the right team? And understand that bootstrapping process is extremely important. Instead of going through that bootstrapping process, what I did in the first one is I went and raised too much money. And because I raised too much money, I did things differently. I thought that I had more money. I was forced to hire and all that kind of stuff. So I did not go through that bootstrapping process. So to give you an example, bootstrapping process, I draw the analogy to a butterfly. A butterfly that comes out of it's a metamorphosis of a butterfly. You have a caterpillar. The caterpillar goes through that process. It hatches from the small caterpillar and goes through metamorphosis of that one, right? And so at some point, the caterpillar turns into a pupa, and then that's when it develops its wings and all that stuff. And at that point in time, it has to come out of that. That is a scaling up process. It has to come out of that pupa. And during that time, it struggles. It has to struggle. So if you let that butterfly come out, if you open that pupa and let the butterfly come out, in fact, the butterfly dies. The butterfly has to struggle and come out. And in that process of coming out, it develops stronger wings. And that's an important part of that. And that is a scaling up part. So the bootstrapping is important. Scaling up is important. So these are things that you have to do it right. I learned how to hire and retain a great team and instill that character and that quality of that framework that is there. So hiring the right team is very important. I want to talk about point 3, which I had not done before. We all did engineering and, we did MBAs and all that stuff. One thing that we don't learn early on is finance and accounting. We call it BCom and all that stuff. Unfortunately, during our times, people who did not get any other courses usually went to do BComs and accounting and all of that stuff. So unfortunately, you didn't have great teachers, and most people did not understand accounting, do not understand accounting. In fact, even today, I don't know how many of you actually can understand accounting and double entries and ledger and journaling and all of that stuff. It's actually a fascinating subject. I wish they taught us all accounting and taught us finance and taught us economics. In fact, I remember we used to have a course in economics in engineering college, and that was something that all of us bunked because we never believed in it. We never gave it any respect. And in engineering college, I remember the teacher would literally feel bad that we did not give her any respect because you're not teaching engineering and this is economics and we don't care. I wish people taught us economics. It's a very important thing to understand money and manage money and create that whole economics, the buy-sell part of it, and understanding markets is a fascinating subject. In fact, tides have turned today, and today economics is the most sought after subject in America. My daughter is now doing, knock on wood, my daughter is doing economics in spite of getting some of the best one. This is actually the most sought after course here. But learning finance and learning accounting, this is why I wish if I were to do this today, I would do it slightly differently. And if you have children who are out of college or in college, the one advice that I would do if I have my children are there, I would basically say, do an internship where they have exposure to this piece. If you can, you know how the, I don't know if there are people from North India in this call, you know how the Marwaris uh, and the Banyas, you know, we're not exposed to that world. So Marwaris, we call it Marwadis, but Marwaris are actually finance people. They are one of the best in the world in finance, in this one, right? They understand finance like nobody else. It's if I was in India, I would, and if I can have my kid go under an internship under a Marwari, I would love it. If I wish I had done that when I was 17 or 18. They understand accounting to that level, or Rajasthani. I mean, they understand it at that level. We dismiss it. We think that that's bad. It's actually amazing how the Gujaratis and the Marwaris actually know finance at that level. Trading is an art. Learning finance and money management is an art. I learned it by myself. I won't say I'm anywhere close to these people. This is just like how you take pride in something. This is money engineering of money. And that is something to be learned. So I would say that learn that one. Today I learned accounting. I can now look at a balance sheet, and I know how to create a balance sheet, and I can know how to read a balance sheet. And it's important to be successful. You should know cash flows. Remember what Arjun Malhotra said. You should be like that Banya trader. Money in, money out any day. If I call you in the middle of the night, you should tell me how much money is in the bank, how much money you have to pay, how much is your accounts payables, accounts receivables. You should be able to tell me anytime. You should be able to say that. That is important. That's like the pulse, you know, like a doctor feeling the pulse. That is the pulse of your business, right? The other thing is that this is personal. This is psychological, right? Learning from my mistakes. You have to be comfortable about yourself. You should be, you know, when I went through my ups and downs, in the downs, I basically was not very confident about myself. I had to rediscover myself. And then you said, a good friend of mine, I consider him a mentor. He said, Arjun, you can lie to anybody else. The only person that you should not lie to is the man in the mirror. When you stand alone, nobody else. You know, when you have family and kids and all that stuff, you put on a different person. You become a father, you become a husband, you become a caretaker. When there is nobody else and you are all alone and you're standing in front of a mirror and you look at yourself, are you comfortable with that person? There's nothing else. Are you comfortable with that person? Do you like what you see? Are you comfortable with that? I didn't quite understand. It took me a few days to kind of realize that and said, today I am. I don't think I was. It took me over 40 years to say this one. Today I am. I feel confident about it. But if I compare myself now versus 10 years ago, the 10-year ago person was a very different person. There are a lot of good qualities about that person that I don't have today. I have become, my wife would say that you become more ruthless. I can fire a person very quickly today. I have very little tolerance for people who do not follow my ecosystem. And 2 days back, I fired somebody. I can do that today. It's a very important thing. You should not only just hire, you should also be able to fire people. But are you comfortable with that? Today, I'm comfortable with that. 10 years ago, I was trying to be somebody else. And this is a psychological thing, right? I mean, you have to be very comfortable about this person. And that is, I feel, is very, very, very important. Look, I wanted to leave more time for Q&A, but I wanted to see, these are some of the important entrepreneurship quotes that I have. You know, this is Andy Grove. He was a founder, almost the founder of Intel. Probably he was one of the first employees. You probably have heard of him. He passed away. He has this book that actually says only the paranoid survive. I didn't quite believe in that one, but today I'm super paranoid about it. It is because you've taken other people's money. You're responsible for 50 families. And I told you that greed is there. And at that point, I'm very paranoid about the product that I built, the quality of the team that I have, the money in the bank. I'm paranoid. I think the paranoia is, is a market coming up with something that is going to beat me and make me obsolete. So I keep an eye on that. So that is important. I think a little bit of paranoia, not too much. Too much is bad. Then you lose your mental stability. But a little bit of paranoia is useful. The other thing is that the second one is actually very interesting. People talk about sales. Back in engineering college, I was the thing that I enjoyed is people. I always thought that I would be a sales guy, but then I just got a job as an engineer, and it paid a lot more, and I started writing code and all of that stuff. But I like that people part. At the end of the day, you watch this thing. There's a movie that I watch, and I take some of my quotes from movies. Is this Rocket Singh, where he says that at the end of the day, sales is about people. People buy from people. If you're honest to people, they will buy from you. You connect with people on a people level, and you'll be able to sell. You'll understand their problem, and if you have something that can solve his problem, then you connect with them. And today, that I learned that piece. So sales is not fundamentally different. A pushy guy is not the guy that'll win. In the long term, it's the guy who can empathize and can be there. If you are there for the customer will be there for you, and that's a great relationship that you can have. Okay, so that's the other one. The next one is tough people never last, but tough people do. Tough times never last. This is interesting, right? I mean, look at COVID. Extremely tough time. It's tough to sell. It's tough to retain all your staff and all that stuff. But if you can get through this, you will do well, because a lot of companies will not get through this. So it's important that tough times never last, but tough people do. The other one is on Oprah Winfrey, right? It's just the most important thing is do something significant. Right? Don't worry about the last thing. I want to make a lot of money. You may end up never making enough money. If you go after that money part, sometimes the more you run after money, I think the further and further away it gets. But you do believe in that, and usually the money comes, the success comes, and so go after that. Like, solve a particular problem. Be honest in that. That's your mission. Go after that mission. Usually the rest of the things happen. That's my observation. There is no easy way to that. There's no easy way. I've not found an easy way to make money. If anybody of you have found it, I would love to know. I did not found an easy way to make money. But however, if you believe in that, what that success is, and making a difference for your customer, once you make a difference for your customer, he's going to buy more from you. That's going to generate revenues, and that is how I've found it. Most important thing is just believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, you can go change the world. That's all that I had. I will now leave it open to Q&As, but hope this provided a little bit of insight into my journey.
Thank you, Arjun. It was a really an eye-opener for all of us. The young guy from Thrissur, how reached to that level of Silicon Valley. Anyway, it is the speech itself is from your heart. We really enjoyed the story and how you pass through all the phases of an entrepreneur. The importance of the team, importance of the identification of the problem, how we have to deal with the venture capitalists and all these aspects. I think all our participants and delegates got the fair idea about the entrepreneurship. Now we are going to question and answer session. After this question and answer session, the TMA, as I mentioned earlier, we have conducted a business plan contest for the college students. So there are the real youngsters would like to hear from you, and there will be a prize distribution immediately after this. I think after the question and answer session, we may take 10 to 15 minutes for that. And our past president, Christopher George, his brainchild is this businessman. He will also address for a few minutes of the students. I request Arjun, please stay back. The party members, in case you have any questions, please unmute yourself and you can ask, or you can raise the hand, or also you can put something in chat box. There are many positive notes. It's a fascinating talk. Really have some notes. It's so much. It is there. I request members, please ask your questions. We have enabled the sound, so you can unmute your sound and ask the question.
No questions, but Arjun, you have done an excellent job. You could sell yourself very well, very well. Thank you so much. I think I'll take a few of them when I teach the MBAs. Very good. Thank you. Well done.
Anyone else?
Sir, good evening. I have one question, sir. In the initial bootstrapping time, you said that we have to select the large market or large, how to find out which product goes for the large market, or how to select the large market.
Yeah. So great question, right? One is, I said two things. I'll go back to that particular slide. These are the two things that I said. I said it should be a tough problem. It should be a tough problem to solve, and whatever that problem is. And then we can, if you have any particular problem that you're looking at, I can be more specific. If you want to share a little more about that problem, I can get more specifics about how to analyze that problem. Do you have anything, or I can pick it myself?
Yes, actually, I'm a chartered accountant. So,
yes.
Say example, I have large market is nowadays, you know very much about GST. GST is the large market, but it's a fully automated, and everywhere the systems or technologies are going up. So we may think in that, sir. Actually, I'm thinking as a large market or large thing is the GST now in India.
So it's a great way to think about it. Look, let's take your problem and then analyze what that would be. See, you know the accounting market, but I have some experience in that. I have found, I'll be very candid about it, most of the people who say that they are accountants really do not understand accounting. It's unfortunate. It frustrates me that people do not understand accounting and are able to give very sane advice on balance sheet management, tax management, cash management. So one of that is a large problem. It is actually a very, very big problem. Why do you think companies like Tally have created a very, very, very large market? So if you're building a service, you need to make sure that you are true to that problem. You understand, you are able to analyze. If you go to a company, you are able to understand their day in the life of that company. You understand that company really, really well, and that is tough. So the way I would put that particular problem is, can you define a process whereby within 1 week of getting into a business, you are able to understand everything about their business? Look at the balance sheet and say, you know your accounts payables, you know your accounts receivables, you know your inventory, you know what gets into that inventory. So you understand that business extremely well. Now that you know the inventory, can you now build a services business whereby you are true value add for this business? So if they pay you 15,000, 20,000 rupees a month, they are able to generate 3 times that one. Usually it's 1:3. $60,000 rupees of value from that. Does that make sense? If you are going to charge 20,000 rupees per month, do not charge. If you're going to win that business because somebody else is charging you $15,000, 15,000 rupees, don't take that business. Move on. The market is too large. Don't discount yourself.
Okay.
Do not discount yourself. If you're getting into that price war, not worth it, go away. Let them go to somebody else. You don't want that customer. I would go to a business and say, this is going to cost you, the market is going to charge you 18,000, I'm going to charge you 22,000 rupees. You know why I'm going to charge you 22,000 rupees? Because I'm going to give you 60,000 rupees of value in this. Why am I so sure? Because my processes are such that within 1 week or 10 days of hiring me, I will know everything about your business, because I have these interviews that I will do with all of these people. I will talk to the HR person and understand their salaries. I will talk to the purchasing person. I'll understand your inventory. I will talk to the business people or the sales people, and I'll understand your revenues. I will understand cash flows. I'll understand balance sheet. And now I can now understand and model your business. I can now model your cash flows. I can model your taxes. I'm going to generate 60,000 rupees of value from you. I'm going to take 22,000. I'm going to be 25% more than the competition. And thereby, you know that you have something that is sustainable. You don't need to go after mass market. I create a brand that is unique. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you.
You should be able to crack something. It should be a tough problem. If it is not a tough problem, then you're a commodity. Tomorrow you can be replaced.
Okay.
Arjun, I think that's a true engineering mind that spoke those words, right? I echo that. I've going to hurt a lot of people here by saying that accountants don't understand accountancy to the required level, because we have a lot of CAs and accountants here. But I think it's a blend of engineering, it's a blend of IT, and it's a blend of understanding of finance that you just quoted.
It is true. I mean, look, I really feel that we should learn finance. You should learn accounting. If you don't know accounting, a little bit of accounting and cash accounting, you can't be a successful. This is the brief that Arjun Malhotra told me. Be like that bunny person.
Arjun, many chartered accounts are participating in the event, including me. We actually afraid the engineers like you learned finance and accounts. I think one point of time you will automate the audit function also.
No, you can't. You can't.
Let us go for that.
You can't automate business. You can't automate finance. You can't automate finance. I mean, you can automate some bookkeeping, like you can do tally, but tally is not account. Tally is not finance. Tally is bookkeeping.
Okay. Vote of thanks by our Vice President, Engineer Vinod Mandila, or to Vinod Mandila.
President of TM.
Shobhi, please stop the shared screen.
Yeah, can I go ahead?
Yes, you are audible.
President of TMA, CA Sony CL, Chief Guest of the Day, Engineer Arjun Jayaram, and my dear friends. I believe this is the last session in Sony's tenure, and what a way to sign off. We had a wonderful session. So thank you, Sony, for this eventful year, and in particular in holding today's session. Engineer Arjun Jayaram, your story from a small town from Thrissur to Silicon Valley was insightful and inspiring. We always have heard of successful people in Silicon Valley, but today we were lucky to listen to a successful person. And knowing that you were from Thrissur, it was so much, inspiring and educative. It always amazes me how industry like your organization of yours into technology is able to take on head-ons like Amazon, Google. It's not easy because technology changes so fast in your ecosystem. So I wish you the very best in the future and hope your organization keeps growing. Thank you, Engineer Arjun Jayaram. Our CEO, Francis George, is the key person in getting Engineer Arjun today, thanks to whom we had a lot of eminent speakers. And I hope he continues to bring in good speakers like Arjun. So thank you, Francis George. Trishu had a startup venture many years ago, but I don't think he had got his due recognition. Our own member, engineer Crystal George, is running a very successful enterprise, and he has been motivating the children, management students, through his Icon business plan contest. He has been running it for 10 years, past 10 years. He spends close to ₹1,00,000 towards this. And for the past 10 years, that means he has spent close to 10 lakhs towards this project. So thank you, Christo. Do keep motivating the youngsters of Thrissur. And then I would also like to thank the winners of this business plan contest. I'm sure you are being given a platform. Now, make sure you become successful entrepreneurs in the future. I would also like to thank all the members and friends who have come for today's meeting in spite of this late hours. You have stayed. I think close to 100 members had attended today's session. Thank you all for coming in large numbers. God bless and stay blessed. Bye. Good night.
Thank you, Vinod Mandila, for a very nice vote of thanks. With this, we come to end of today's webinar. Once again, thank you, Arjun Jayaram, for sparing your valuable time with us in this early morning from California. Here in Thrissur, we are in late evening, but you are in early morning time. Once again, I thank everyone for participating in today's webinar. Thank you, one and all.